Welcome back to The Bible is Art, where we explore the literary artistry of the Bible. And this week, we're talking about the dense style of biblical narrators, as well as the sophistication you can achieve in one verse. Let me read to you two different styles of storytelling. First, from Thomas Hardy in his book Under the Greenwood Tree. This is the first sentence of the book. To dwellers in a wood, almost every species of tree has its voice as well as its feature. At the passing of the breeze, the fir-trees sob and moan no less distinctly than they rock. The holly whistles as it battles with itself. The ash hisses amid its quiverings. The beech rustles while its flat boughs rise and fall. In winter, which modifies the note of such trees as shed their leaves, does not destroy its individuality. And this is one of the first verses from the Joseph story in Genesis. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. Notice the difference? The biblical narrators are sparse, not florid, unadorned, but dense. Dense with meaning and symbolism, dense with details that will be apropos, important to the story. Much of modern literature invests a lot of time in describing scenes and physical characteristics of characters. The biblical narrator, by contrast, very rarely includes those details. And when he does include details, it will always have a plot function. It will be important in the story. Let me explain the beauty of this dense style with a text we just read from the Joseph story. Now, you may have not thought much of it when I first read it, but in one sentence, the author crams 4 pieces of plot-significant information. First, we're introduced to the main character, Joseph. Second, we're told his age and thus maturity, 17. And there's a subtle irony here. You see, Joseph bears a symbolically perfect age, 7 plus 10, 17. But he is not perfect. This will mirror the fact that he has a favored relationship with his father, but does not know how to handle that privilege. Later in the story, after God has matured Joseph, the narrator will mark his age again, 13 years later. 13 years of discipleship through slavery and prison. Third, we're told his vocation, pasturing the flock. This, of course, is his training for his final vocation, pasturing people as second in command in Egypt. But here, he's unable to pasture well with his brothers. By the end of the story, he will have been trained to pasture them and others well. He will rise to not first in command in Egypt, but second, and he can do that skillfully. He will also learn to care for his brothers and not bring bad reports about them and gloat in his blessings, but use his blessings to feed the world. And fourth, in that first sentence, we're introduced to the conflict in the narrative, in both form and content. We're introduced to the antagonists, the brothers, and our author ingeniously implies their conflict by semantically separating them as far as possible in the sentence. Listen to the sentence again. Joseph, being 17 years old, was pasturing the flock with his brothers. Joseph is the first word, and the brothers is the last word in the sentence. They're separate semantically because they're separate relationally, and they will be separated physically for a good portion of the story. So while the biblical narrator does not have as much detail as much modern literature, the details that he does include are deep and need to be decanted. They will often hint or ironize the futures of the characters and plot. The biblical reader must be attentive to the careful constructions of the author because he is subtle and artful. And that, my friends, is why the Bible is art. Thank you so much for watching this week. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in supporting the channel, that would be very helpful. It really does help. You can do so at patreon.com/thebibleisart. If you have any questions about this, I would love to hear them. You can leave them in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed or know someone that would be interested in this channel, I would love if you could share it with them. Thank you so much.